Hello, everybody. It's Stuart here with another episode of Scrap Mechanic. Now, I've been doing some changes to our helicopter, and I thought I'd give you guys a show. Check it out, huh? Yeah, it's bigger and badder. Yeah, I actually have plans. I've finally figured out what kind of helicopter I'm going to base our final design off of. Now, it's called a. Let me make sure I get this right. A Sikorsky CH-54 Tarhe, and basically these were big old military birds, and they would use them to pick up and transfer tanks and other massive vehicles. Now, this is smaller than our final design is going to, and there's a lot I'm going to change. I don't want it. I'm still kind of stuck with when it comes to how do I balance this all out. And for now, I'm just kind of stuck just making a mirror image of both sides. I showed you all the scale that I came up with, and it doesn't work. Like, I did pretty thorough tests of essentially repeat trials over and over again, hoping that I would come up with some kind of well, proof that it is consistent, and it just isn't. There's there's an issue with it, and I think the issue was on these little these guys right here, these the ball bearings or bearings. They basically have a little bit of friction associated with them, and what was happening is as the scale would go down, the friction would prevent it from resetting normally. I had to do that controller trick, and unfortunately, because of that, it was actually messing with the readings. Like, I just was not getting a consistent reading. And if we can't count on the scale, it's really hard to figure out how to balance the front and the back of this. I do have an idea of how it might be possible. Basically, you see these wheels here? If we extend those a little bit lower and we make them big enough, I'm hoping that, like, as these craft balance out, like, say I want to take this cockpit out and turn it into a tail of our actual helicopter. Now, if I have big enough wheels and like the whole thing's balanced on the wheels, I can just kind of eyeball it based on, oh, is it falling down on one side or is it kind of held up? So that's my plan going forward. I'm not really quite satisfied with that. I think it needs some definite improvement. And I'm hoping that maybe in the future, I'm going to actually put the suggestion out to the developers, but maybe they should include, if they're going to have friction in the game, also include like frictionless systems as well, so that, or at least a way you can adjust the friction on ball bearings. Kind of like how you can adjust the power in an engine. I think something like that, like if you can make it frictionless, so we wouldn't bump into that issue with our scale. That'd be super. It would really help out the cause. But in the meantime, obviously I've done quite a few changes to the Pelican. It's I've built it bigger, and I'm actually hoping, like, I have big plans for this. So if we're basing off a big cargo copter, just one of the biggest helicopters ever built, honestly. It's huge. The Tarhays, like I said, they were parachuting in tanks, like carrying tons and tons. Well, what if we built a very large helicopter, like almost a mobile base, and we had it equipped with some kind of a crane in the middle here where these wheels are, so that it can actually like swoop down, pick up like a little base with a hook, and then fly off with the base. I think that would be really cool. And we could like parachute our base in, have all kinds of buttons to control if the crane's open or closed. It's gonna be really awesome. At least I hope. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. I mean, we've seen how most of my inventions turn out, but that's kind of the plan going forward. Now, another exciting development is as I built this bigger, I ended up adding in more engines, thinking, oh, we'll probably need them. Just sorry for the swallowing. I'm still struggling with my allergies a bit, but tis the season. uh, but yeah, my hope is that basically I was adding these extra engines in, right, and the hope was that it'd be able to lift massive, massive structures. Well, as I added in more engines and I actually put them spaced out all equally, a lot of the issues that we've been having seem to have disappeared. Yeah, oh yeah, I think I've solved all that spinning nonsense. It's pretty stable going up. There's just another issue I've discovered, and I'll show you it right now. Let's jump in and do a little test flight. So, as I gun it, oh, is it? Um, oh, yeah, my bad, my bad. Yeah, it got turned around on me. Okay, here we go. So, see, as I go up, how it starts to lean a little bit and gradually gets worse and worse over time. Yeah, and then the concerned look appears on a little munchkin dude's face. Yeah, I'd be nervous too. Oh, nice aerial view. I'm gonna set up our base over near all those launch pads. It's a good find. It's a good find. Oop. Now I've hit the edge of the map. Let's see if we can maybe right ourselves. So we're going in on a pretty hard landing. Oh, this is gonna clunk. Ow. Oh man, that was brutal. Um, yeah, that looked like that hurt. But anyway, you saw how it was doing that little bit of tilt, right? Okay, so I'm just gonna kind of start spraying back while we talk. The that little bit of tilt, I figured out the cause. It was more obvious when we only had two engines for each rotor, because what was happening was the rotors aren't set to be essentially in the same starting position. And that is what was causing the unbalance. That was what was causing it to want to tip over. And I was so convinced it was something to do with the moment's momentum being wrong, or I wasn't we're going for a little dive down there. Oh, I can't wait to like really get into building vehicles that can jump these gaps and I mean, look at that. Just so cool. So cool. Like I can't wait. I really want to build like little rocket scooters and all kinds of crazy, crazy inventions. But yeah, the what was actually happening, and you'll see it once I actually get back to our launch pad. I like to put on the launch pad when I'm showing off the craft because the ground's pretty uneven, and unfortunately, it can lead to some problems when you're trying to do a takeoff. As you'll see once I get oh, back, maybe I can jump up here. Yes, I can. So here's the issue, right? See the position of let's do it smaller. Yeah, see the position of that engine, how it's a little bit back. Now this one, which should be the same position as that one, is a little bit forward. I have no mechanism to set that initial starting position so that this one and its counterpart start exactly the same. And because of that, it's introducing very slight little forces that cause it to lean in one direction or the other when you do an initial liftoff. Now, because of that initial balance being just a little bit off, it accumulates over time though, and it causes us to rise in kind of a curve. And eventually, as you saw, we end up just kind of rolling over. Now, the way to fix that is I'm going to hook up this guy, and well, it's easier to, yeah, that'll work better. I'm going to hook up, jump down, that number 8 with number 4 or whatever to a controller. And that controller will be controlled by a switch. Now, the idea I'm hoping is that if the switch has them start in a particular position, they'll be equal in area. So, like when I lift off, I won't get that initial lean, and I'll be able to go just straight up and down. No tilts, nothing like that to worry about. However, once you do the lift off, you want to turn off that ball bearing being locked. Because if you don't, these puppies, these little darlings here, I, they won't move. And I mean, you'll have a craft that can go up and down, perhaps, but you won't have a craft that uh, rotates like a helicopter and has that nice gyroscopic spin force balancing it out. So if you apply any additional forces, like say forward propulsion or something that turns it side to side, you won't enjoy the balancing nature of these things, and it'll all go crazy again, and you'll just spin out of control. Now, I'm not entirely sure how friction works on bearings when you have it hooked up to a switch. I don't know if it will actually turn off the friction basically um, when I flip that switch. So we're gonna find out right now. I'm gonna go in and get these hooked up, and then hook this up to. Oh no, I'm doing it backwards. Now I need a second controller, which actually I already have right here, and because it's the control, and you see how that aligned it, and it's all aligned. That's good, but we don't want it to stay permanently locked like that. Otherwise, it's useless to us. I'll go over here as well. Now, if this doesn't work, I'm not sure. It'll be tricky to actually get it lined up perfectly. There might be a way to, like, I don't know, with sensors or something, just get it if it starts to lean a bit. Sensors are kind of odd in this one, though. They don't really detect. What they need is different kinds of sensors. Right now, basically, I guess the way I would describe it is a motion sensor. Essentially, if something is within range of the sensor, it sends out a signal, some material object. So it's a good way, say you want a door that you walk up to and have the door open. The sensor works perfectly well with that. But if you want it to, say, detect if something's leaning to the left or the right, and then maybe have a little adjustment rocket fire off just to balance things out again, it will only do that if it's very close to the ground, like, say, on the bottom of a hovercraft of some kind. So what I'm hoping is that they actually start to put in sensors that say can detect lean. Um, you see these sort of things. It's gosh, what are they called? Well, alignment things that you use for, say, lining up a picture frame. Something of that nature, or something that could simulate that. Oh, that'd be so handy. It'd be definitely a useful thing to have, but we'll find out. I mean, very early access. Oh, by the way, I don't know if you saw the development blog, but they've announced some really cool new features coming out. I'm super pumped. They're gonna have a painting tool. So, if say I want like the cool look of metal or something, but I don't want just that kind of gray looking color. I can do other colors. Like I could do a white version of that. Or like this, for example. I could do, maybe I want to look like a candy cane and be like Santa's sleigh or something. I could do like different colors on that. Maybe like I think you could do like a white or a red or something. I'm not quite sure actually how the paint will work on some objects. I know on the rubber duckies you can paint them like every, Roy G. Biv. Red, orange, yellow, blue, indigo. Oh, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. Good way to remember the colors of the rainbow if you're curious about it. Anywho, let's see. So yeah, we got our switch hooked up, and I think this is gonna work a little bit better. Okay. Now, if I want to spin, I should be able to hit one. It didn't seem to do anything. Okay. Yeah, I was kind of afraid that might be the problem. I wonder I wonder how we can do this. Um, let me hop out real quick. I'm going to just double check. So those are hooked up to a controller. Let me check the controller. Okay, so set to 0. Yeah, there doesn't seem to be a way to disengage the ball bearing after taking off. Hmm, this makes things tricky. This makes things a little bit difficult. Um, yeah. Well, let me think about this a second. I, I feel like there has to be a way around it. All right, guys. So I had a little think about it, and yeah, well, what I think we could do is maybe put in a second ball bearing so the whole thing can spin around, but also lock in place. Unfortunately, that means kind of taking this all apart again. It's really kind of a pain that you can't pull like you know what I love if they had like a little magnet or something that you could like kind of like how the controller works, like how you can drag one bit to another bit. Only you could like drag one bit. Let's say I take this pipe out briefly so I can put in a second rotor. What I would love is like I don't know glue or some tool that I could basically say, okay, now I want this bit that I took off, select that and then drag it to the part I want to attach it to and have it automatically attach. That would be really just bee's knees because I mean now I have to redo everything just to try an idea. Um, there's another thing we can try though first, and I think it might be a good call just to check. So adding in 4 engines made it pretty stable, right? I know a way we could add 8 more engines to this thing without making it look all like ridiculous. And it's gonna look really cool. I think folks will appreciate the final outcome to that. So I'm just gonna like run this guy back over there, and yeah, we'll get started on it. So I'll see you in a few.